Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our master class number 10, How to Maximize Students' Engagement and Motivation in their English Language Learning Process. My name is Diana Caterina Salazar, and together we will hike today the mountain of engagement. In this masterclass, we will explore the different ways in which teachers can connect and involve students more in their class decision-making process to give them more voice in the classroom. As the students climb to the summit of the mountain, they will need more help and support. So let's look into the different help resources and the support we can provide our students. Let's start.
Hello, good afternoon, our dear teachers from different parts of the country. We're very pleased, we're very happy to have you and to have the pleasure to be with Diana today. But also we have the pleasure to introduce today our teacher Majerli from teacher Majerli is teacher of middle and high school. She has been working with this process of teaching and learning for many years. And we're very happy to have teacher Majerli here with us. But also we have teacher Fernando. But before we introduce and we talk about our dear teacher Fernando, hello, good afternoon, dear teacher Majerli. So here we can see that it says that you love bowling and camping. Is that true?
Yes, true. Yes. I practice bowling every week. So I belong to a team called Moñona from Cundinamarca's Bowling League. So it's my passion.
Nice. So why the name of Moñona? Why the name of Moñona? Moñona.
Moñona, yes. Yes. When you fail the
What,
10 pins, you
yes.
you made a moñona.
Oh, that's so
A
good. So
moñona.
welcome to our master class, dear teacher Majerli. And also we have our dear teacher Fernando from Facatativá, Cundinamarca. I have some relatives in Cundinamarca that I'm sure they are listening and they are watching our master class. So hello to all of them. And here it says that you have been an English teacher for more than 13 years. Is that true, dear teacher Fernando?
Yes, I've been working as an English teacher for this 14. My gosh, I'm an old teacher. But, I've been working in Facatativá at Manuela Ayala de Gaitán School as an English teacher and inspiring, promoting learning languages, English in this case, because, all the opportunities students have when they speak foreign language is great. So focus on developing the students' skills. So
Nice.
a little nervous, but it's great to feel that I'm here with all of you.
Yeah. So that's exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah.
And of course, we have teacher Diana, who's going to be with us today, sharing and giving us tips, ideas, techniques, and strategies that she has planned and she wants to share with us. Diana Caterini has a bachelor degree in English from the district university, but she has also been working with flip learning for a long time. That's amazing. Flip classroom, flip learning. Oh, Diana, hello, welcome to our 10th masterclass.
Thank you so much. I've been doing Flip for ever since 2016 when Carolina Huitrago and Marta Ramirez introduced me to it in an ASOCOPY conference. I have learned a lot about flip learning, and I would like to share with you what I have learned about it. So, and now I would like to introduce Jonathan. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, thank you very much, Diana. Well, I have been working with teaching and learning English for a long time. I'm from this beautiful city. Well, actually, I am from Medellin, Antioquia, but I live here in Armenia, Quindío. I work at the University of Quindío, and I work in different public institutions, in rural institutions from our beautiful department of Quindío. So this is my passion, Diana, and teacher Fernando, and teachers. This is what I love doing, and that's the reason why you can see how glad, how happy I am today to be here with you. Well, everybody, welcome to our 10th master class. This is going to be really interesting because, as I said before, we have teacher Diana here with us, and this strategy by the Ministry of Education is this strategy is as part of the international cooperation agreement between the British Council and the Ministry of Education. And we have the pleasure to invite all the wonderful teachers. I'm checking my chat here, Diana, and you don't imagine, we have more than 100 people, almost 130 people connected here,
Wow.
sharing ideas. This is amazing. So we're broadcasting today our 10 master class, and you teachers, please tell us where you are connecting today from. Diana, you ready to rock and roll?
So I think we're ready for the first section. What do you say?
Yeah, I think we're more than ready for our first section, our first section in this master class, how to maximize these strategies in our class. So we're going to, after introducing our guest, what do you think about our guest, Diana?
I feel they have many things to share with us, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. So we're going to go to our first section, and our first section is challenges and opportunity. So
Let's go.
I'm going to challenge you, Diana, to go to our first section. Let's go.
Let's go then. So for this first section, I'm going to ask all of the teachers who are participating in the chat box and my guest teachers to come.
Hey, what's
Do
going on
you
with
know
our
what? Do you know
teachers?
where Madirli and Fernando are?
I don't know.
There they
I
are.
was looking for
They
them.
are.
Oh, here we
I'm
are.
here. I'm
Here we
here.
are.
Okay, teachers at home and teacher Madirli and teacher Fernando. My first question is going to go towards giving a shout out, right? You are going to tell us about that teacher or those teachers who help you feel heard, welcome, successful at school, at university. The challenge here is not to mention the name of your teacher, but mention the subject. So we're going to give some time for the people who are writing down in the chat box who want to say who they want to give the shout out to. And maybe teacher Marjorie or Fernando, if one of you wants to start.
Okay. Well, in the past, I had a traditional English teacher at school many, many years ago. Yes. Traditional means for me the way of teaching, yeah, through the practice of grammar structures almost all the time. Yes, subject, verb, and complement, yeah, through vocabulary activities and so on. But I didn't interact with my partners, yeah. But now our ways of teaching have changed. We have that we know the communicative approach that is implicit in our teaching practice now, yeah. However, my middle school teacher and my brother, yeah, my brother, who is a teacher as well, inspired me to study and work on this field. I love it. Yeah.
So shout out to your brother and shout out to your
Yeah,
teacher.
he's here
Nice.
watching this session. A kiss for him.
What about you,
Right.
teacher Fernando?
Well, there are two teachers that I think that I'm never going to forget because, well, they marked me. One of the teachers who who is going to be always in my mind is my Portuguese teacher because he was so curious about teaching, uh, trying different activities, like taking the real life into what I was learning. So it's what I'm going to remember for the rest of my life, and it's what I try to do to use what students live daily in the daily life in our classes. And the other teacher is one teacher at the university. who was so demanding, and I was afraid of her, but I learned a lot. My gosh, she said you have to present up this date. This is the deadline, and I started to work because I knew that that was the deadline. So I learned not as much as knowledge, but discipline, and it is what I love: being disciplined to do and learn something.
I think that you're so right about that. Something that I have learned in this profession is that the passion that we have for teaching or for learning about the subject that we are teaching about is what we actually transmit our students. So I remember that you were saying us at the beginning when you were introducing yourself that you are passionate about what you do. And I think that is very
I'm
important.
passionate about languages. I am a language lover. I love languages, and it's like my drug. All the days studying a different language. Or well, not all days. Or every year a different language. This year I'm learning Romanian. It's my dream to speak Romanian.
Oh,
Wow.
very
I'm
difficult.
trying to learn Korean, but impossible task. So I'm going to
Very
call,
difficult, isn't it?
which one?
Dragostadintei.
What was that, teacher? What was that? I'm going to ask Jonathan to
Mhm.
tell us what the teachers are saying on the chat box. I'm very curious about their answers.
And you're going to be very surprised to read what we have. For example, here we have teacher Mylene Elisa Cardenas, and she says, shout out to my methodology and English teacher. Her classes help me understand the importance of needs analysis surveys on the first day of class. Wow, thank you very much, teacher, for sharing that idea with us. And here we have also another comment by teacher Maria Lizarazo. And she says, shout out to my classroom management teacher because she helped me to become the teacher I am today. So Diana, the comments in the chat, they are just amazing. Thank you very much, dear teachers, and keep chatting, keep sharing with us those ideas.
I think I'm going to read that chat box when we finish this transmission. I'm very
You
curious
have to.
about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next question, and I'm going to ask teachers to stay here with me. Okay. Now that you have tell us about that teacher who taught you so much about that specific subject or who helped you feeling very involved, I would like you to tell us which elements of the class of this teacher help you feel involved. And in order to do that, we have some options. So you can answer with the hashtag teachers at home. It was interesting because, and then you have some options there. So you can choose. For example, in my case, it was 1, 10, and 3. What about you, teachers, Majerly and Fernando?
Well,
Well, Majorly, go on.
you? Okay, no, you first. Okay.
Lady first, always.
No.
Okay, okay. Well, hashtag. It was interesting because Portuguese teacher used always trivias, and it was like, oh, I know the answer, and we compete with the other with the classmate, and we oh I lost, oh I won, I win. So it was interesting. At the beginning of the class, the teacher always show us some videos, some funny videos, and that motivates us to okay, this class is going to be funny. So we start with a smile. We start with classes with a smile, and that's great. And because the planning of the teacher was so great that we understood at the beginning of the class uh, where we have to reach. So we were mentalized that we have to go through a process, and that was great. So I love that.
Trivias are awesome. I also used to do them a lot with my English teacher in
Yeah.
ninth grade. I hope she's watching me right now. What about you, teacher Majerly?
Well, I selected 6 and 12, but I'd like to talk about 4. First, number 6, by storytelling. Yes, storytelling was used to explain a topic. Yeah, it was interesting because I learned spelling, grammar, structures that I mentioned before. and reading comprehension, yeah, to follow instructions. And number 12, about community projects. Yes, I learned because I learned how to work as a group, to make decisions together, and even how to lead a project, yeah. And well, I like to talk about four challenging worksheets. Well, maybe now I'm using them. I have a strategy uh, that has motivated my students. Uh, I, I, I give the student a stamp for each activity well done, yes, and I register these stamps. Each five stamps is a bonus and is a five in the records of the students, yeah. I have implemented this strategy and has been very useful to motivate my student, not also to complete the activities, but also to do it well. And then a peer correction, for example, is one of my favorite strategies to assess the activities.
Wow. I really like the one of the stamps. I think we all love those stamps.
Yes, very useful.
Well, what about teachers in the chat box, Jonathan? If you want, you can join us.
In the chat, teachers in the chat had been texting and texting. They are on fire, Diana. They are on fire. And let me tell you this. This is kind of it's exciting because most teachers they say, for example, number one, number four, and number 10. Number two, number three, number 10. Number eight, number 10. So 10 is like the most popular one here during the chat. And here we have, for example, the teachers say the most famous, Diana. Number four, number seven, number eight, and number 10.
Okay, 4, 7, 8, and 10. You're
Yeah.
telling me more tips?
So, and there are also some teachers writing like connection to reality was constantly made in the class. No, I'm very excited about this chat. It's kind of crazy, Diana and teachers, let me tell, because you're like looking for one and then you have two, you have three. This is crazy. But we have a lot of teachers from different parts of the country, Diana, saying congratulations for how amazing this master class has been, for all the things that we have shared so far. So, yeah, we are on fire.
Wow, that's amazing. I think that, I don't know if it has happened to you, but as language teachers, we are always perceived as the teachers of fun, the ones who implement the games, the one who implements the trivia. So maybe that's the reason why they're the most popular ones.
Yeah, yeah, it is true.
We are.
Yeah, we are.
Yes, we are.
So the last question for everybody, for teachers at home and teachers here with me, my dear guest teachers, what did the teacher do to help you accomplish that goal?
Well, he provided us extra materials, maybe, to study at home at those times, yes. And now in the master's program, maybe tutoring sessions. You can go to the university and take those tutorials, yeah. So that's the way that I received some
Extra
help.
material.
Mhm.
But would you ask for the extra material, or the teacher would rather just give it to you if you needed help?
When I need some extra help, so I ask for it. But sometimes the teachers gave us in a platform, yeah, and you can consult this material, yeah.
hmm
But
What
too
about?
many years ago, well, papers, yeah,
I
yeah,
know. Papers and going to the library to get the
yes,
book of the band that you like, and then take a look at the lyrics.
yes, yes. No computers, no
No
technology.
computers or anything
Yeah.
like that. What about you, Jonathan?
Fernando?
I'm sorry, not Jonathan. What about you, Fernando? Oh my God. Sorry, sorry.
Sorry, it doesn't
An
matter.
appointment needed to happen. An appointment needed to happen. Sorry about that.
Well, what did the teacher that did do? Well, being clear at the beginning of the term, or being clear at the beginning of the projects. She was extremely clear So it was what made has made me remember her forever, because she planted the agenda, and she was so dedicated to her job, to be a great teacher, that I was impressed, and I said I need to be as organized as her. This was great. And the other teacher, how did he help me? Mm, hey, Fernando, do you need help? What do you understand? Do you need vocabulary? Do you need maybe an application for learning more vocabulary? Say, hey, teacher, what do you suggest me? So, uh, due to him, I use a lot of applications on my mobile to learn languages. For instance, Memrise, Mondly, Buzu, because he taught me how to use them, and
Hmm.
not to be, I don't want to study more, but every day just 5 minutes, and study. In this way they helped me.
So he was constantly monitoring you throughout the class.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So now I'm going to give you like some food for thought, right? Sometimes we confuse terms such as engage and motivate, but one like in one we participate more than the other one, right? So the part of engagement is talks about more about the teacher's actions, and the part of motivation talks more about those students actions, like how why are they pulled towards doing something. So what we need to do as teachers is to engage a student so they can feel motivated internally about something that they want to do in your class, right? So the first thing is that when we as teachers take certain actions in order for our students to be engaged, to be involved, connect to our class, is because we are going to allow students to be invested in what we're doing, right? To have an active participation, but more importantly, to have emotional commitment to our class. And the activities, the techniques, the step actions that I'm going to show you go towards that, having that connection with your student, knowing, right, letting him or her know that you are there for them to support them, that your class is a safe environment where they're going to feel safe and confident. And of course, if they are engaged, they will be motivated. They will enjoy the classes. They will feel that they can do is something big in your class, and they will accomplish a goal. So, what does it mean to engage? Is when we promote that agency, right? That power to act inside of our classroom, that initiative for our students to do something. There is going to be a part in your class when your students are going to start proposing projects to you without you even telling them. Or is also going to impact in regards to the interest of the student, the learning. How are they going to extend those abilities that they already have in your class? And of course, that they need to have certain roles. They are aware about the roles so that they get to that self regulation. So I would like to call Jonathan in this part. Hello, Jonathan.
Excited.
Before we go to
This
our
is
next section, how
yeah.
are
So,
things
but
doing in the chat box?
yeah, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to tell you. What if we, before we go to our next section, we say hello to some of the teachers who are here listening to us? For example, we have teacher Arbeia Belais from the school Baudilio Montoya in Calarcá, Quindío. Diana, can you believe it? From Calarcá, Quindío. We
Okay.
also, we also have teacher Luzberta Parrado from the school Simón Bolívar en el Meta. This is the best part, Diana. This is the best part of our master classes, that we have teachers from different parts of our country. Here we have, for example, Zulima Maldonado, and Zulima is our teacher from the Colegio Manuel Antonio Rueda in Villa del Rosario, Norte de Santander. And they are writing, they are texting, they say, look, we are here, teacher Diana, thank you very much. And they are also sharing ideas with the hashtag my teacher told me. Very active teachers, Diana. This is because of your energy, because of your passion, and also because of the ideas that teacher Diana and Fernando are sharing here with us. So, what do you think? How do you feel, Diana? Tell me the truth. How do you feel
I feel
about
awesome.
having those teachers telling you things and sharing with us?
And you
Well, that
can
was
read the chat box. Maybe if you want to read maybe two comments for me.
yes, of course. Here we have a lot of them. For example, Aníbal Núñez says, when I was a student, okay, one teacher invited me to participate in a conference. It was my first contact with people speaking English, and the interaction was amazing. So look at all the comments that they are giving you. Here we have my teacher gave me support and a lot of motivation. What was most important in this class was that he always listened to all of us in the class. So this is like what you were talking about, Diana, about engaging, about
Hmm.
motivating, about
That's right.
promoting. And the best part, Diana, and dear teachers, is that this is what our teachers in the different schools do with the students. They engage, they motivate. So having you in this master class, sharing this idea is like everybody's on fire, Diana. Everybody's on fire. So how do you feel, Diana? You feel good?
I'm ready for
Excited?
the next section. That's right.
Good.
Let's go.
Excellent. But I want to remember, I want to remind everybody that this project, this master class, is also part of the Inspiring Teachers program and the Contacto Maestro. And now that we're talking about Contacto Maestro, about inspiring teachers, would you like to do something before we go to our next section? Do you remember our next section, Diana? What's our
Yeah,
next section?
the teaching toolbox. I'm ready for
You're
that.
you're going to open the toolbox for the children, for the children and for the teachers and for professors, for everybody. But would you like to know something about eco teens? Have you heard of eco
Yeah.
teens? About the different resources, podcast material that we have for our English teachers. And the best part is that it was designed for English teachers. So we're going to take a look at this information related to eco teens, and then we're going to open the teaching toolbox that Diana is going to do. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Let's go.
What is ECHO Teams? Well, ECHO stands for English for Colombia, and it is an educational radio program designed to promote English language learning while exploring different fields like technology, arts, tourism, and sports. The program is designed for teens and presented by teens. Rosita, Aleja, Ana, and Lucho together with Julian, their English teacher. In the program, they share their life projects and help other young people see the benefits of speaking English.
Now that we have talked about those teachers who inspired us to be better teachers, role models, to who left us with some teaching practices, we're going to explore some strategies and techniques. So let's start with the teaching toolbox engagement edition. And I'm going to start with some questions for my public, for both the teachers who are here with me and the teachers at home. Teacher Fernando Majerli, join me, please.
Hello again. Well, how do I give students a voice in my class? I usually. Oh, sorry.
Wait.
I'm gonna hurry up.
This one, the question is, thank you, Teacher Fernando. Like, we're teachers. How do I give students voice in my class? So you can answer with the hashtag teachers at home. I give voice when, and I just gave you like some ideas, but if you have more, you're welcome. And now let's go with you, Teacher Fernando.
Okay. I usually work using PBL, project-based learning, and when I present to my students the original idea, I start talking to them. Hey guys, do you like this project, or what do you want to change? What do you think about the assessment or the final evaluation? Do you want to be assessed in this way, or what do you prefer? What's your opinion? And among all of us, we replan the project, and they feel comfortable because they think that I don't impose what I plan, but it is something that we organize.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe sometimes the students, hey teacher, we don't want class. All students are not always in a way for taking a class, a grammar class, for instance, or some kind of activities. Hey teacher, we don't want this class, so we can plan another kind of. What do you suggest? Is listening to the students always in this
Mm-hmm.
way.
That is right. I think that with those PBL projects, the amount of awareness in regards to that participation of students is always very, very high.
Hmm.
What about
Definitely.
you, teacher Majerli?
Okay, well, I identify one that is very important, implementing many activities with cooperative work. Yes, I plan some activities that foster not just cooperative work, but also collaborative work. For example, designing a poster session, yes, in order to socialize the students' work, yeah, and then I like to use rubrics used to assess this activity. Um, and also in order to develop leadership, yes, skills and teamwork. Yeah, so I like this type of activities in my classes. Okay.
Mhm. That is so important because you somehow are giving participation to your students, and I think that this is something that in the rush of teaching a curriculum, teaching a subject, like we're rushing through the contents now with all of the situation of the pandemic. We feel that we need to really rush with the content, and sometimes we forget about this, which is really important. So I'm
Yeah.
going to go with my first teaching technique, but before I go with the first teaching technique, I would like to see how Jonathan is doing in the chat box with some of the comments that the teachers are having there about how do they give voice to their students.
Well, you're going to be surprised because I have some co-workers from Cartagena texting, they are chatting, and they say special. We have, for example, Professor Karen Julia from the school Fulgencio Lequerica from Cartagena. And she's saying a special hello to Jonathan Bella, but also to Diana, to everybody. And then I'm going to share with you, Diana, this amazing comment because I remember the teacher Fernando some minutes ago, he spoke about project-based learning. And
That's
he
right.
said that he loved implementing project-based learning in his class. And we have Professor Olga Lucia Kitian texting this hashtag I give voice when students and I decide on class projects. So look at this. It's not like I'm the teacher, I'm going to design the project. No, on the contrary, I am the teacher, you are my students, let's work on something together, something that maybe you're going to enjoy. Diana, but also look at this. It says hashtag give voice when students do collaborative work. Okay, so this is amazing, Diana, and I'm very glad to read all the comments. Remember that sometimes it's crazy for me, like to oh my god, I want to read something, but people are
Yeah.
chatting, which is man, it's fine. So I want to invite all of you to do two activities. Number one, please keep participating, keep chatting, exchanging ideas with us. And number two, remember the link here below. There's a link for you to go and register in order to obtain the documents and all the material that Diana is going to share with us after the master class, of course. So if you go to the link, you're going to register, of course, attendance, number one. And number two, we're going to obtain the certificate of participation of attendance. Diana, are you happy? Are you excited?
I am. I am. This is an amazing space, and I've been learning
Yes.
so much. Not only like preparing for this master class, but also watching the previous ones.
Yeah.
They've
And we
been
have people from the north of our country to the south, texting, chatting, saying, hello, Diana, hello, Fernando, hello, Majerly. Give us more ideas. They want more.
okay.
So go ahead.
So I'm going to go with the first teaching technique about giving more voice to your students in order to engage them. And the first one is forge a safe environment. And how do we do that? How do we forge a safe environment? How do we make our students feel that they are feeling heard, that they're being involved? My first activity is a class constitution. So, a class constitution is a very short document that you co create with your students at the beginning of a term, at the beginning of the year. This goes beyond teaching the language as such because it's about making agreements with your students. I usually recommend, like when you finish the product, to have the posters around the classroom or to have them electronically so that whenever you have an issue or a problem that arises in the classroom, you always have the document with you because this is something that you don't tell them of what to do or what not to do, but this is something that they construct along with you. So I'm going to get some of the materials. So what are going to be some of the materials? Pictures of at least 6 different video game backgrounds or exotic destinations. If you're working with teenagers, they will always prefer the backgrounds of, I don't know, video games, zombies. Let them be. Let them have fun with that. This is all about imagine communities, imagine spaces for my students. We're going to be using cardboards and markers for the posters, and I'm going to tell you when we're going to use those. And of course, vocabulary for your students. This is the language part. So you are going to teach them beforehand what is kindness, what is to misbehave, what is responsibility. They might understand, but you may want to extend this to a language level, right? So what is this for? We're going to contribute to that problem solving strategy. So this means that in a classroom activity, I am tackling higher order thinking skills because I'm going to ask my students to think how they can solve a specific issues in the classroom. And how do they do that? With their previous experiences, right? And of course, they're practicing the language. I am engaging them into something different that is not actually grammar or vocabulary as such, but as something that is going to be useful for their daily life. So if you go back to this chat box session and what we have been talking about with my guest teachers, we are using elements from their realities. So what are the teacher instructions? You go, paste the pictures around the classroom, you make a gallery with your students. If you have these hybrid environments, you can make a presentation with the posters, right? And you're going to ask your students to vote only for one of those imagined spaces, right? All the group is going to agree on a name for that space. And then you're going to divide the groups and ask them very specific questions. So for example, the first one, how are we going to show respect to my teachers and my friends, right? What things are we going to say to each other? What are we going to do when I don't do the class work? What is going to happen? Am I going to get a second chance? How many chances do I get? In which other ways can I improve that grade? All of those things that you think it might not matter because can be solved throughout the year. It actually matters because students are going to be clear on what is your type of methodology, what can they expect from you as a teacher and as a person, and what is their chance of participation in the classroom. And of course, 3 responsibilities that they have in class, what happens if a friend misbehaves, because we're teaching them to self-regulate. Even more when they are adolescents, this is going to be a very critical stage for them. So when the groups finish, they paste the posters of the questions they solve in each one of the groups, and they leave it there as the class constitution, right? So you don't need to write a document. It can be something very visual. It can be something, maybe an infographic, or maybe just a drawing and a short sentence, depending on the level of your students. This activity works very good with 5th graders, 6th graders, 7th graders, 8th graders up. And of course, you can adapt the questions. So I'm going to ask my dear teachers, Fernando and Maderly, to join with me. Hello, hello.
Hi.
So you're going to be my students. So I would like you, my dear students, Fernando and Maderly, to choose one of the pictures that you have here. Imagine that you want that your classroom is going to be in that space, either in the Mario world, in an enchanted forest, on a tropical
What do you
beach
think, Miguel?
in
Well,
Mallorca.
we have to decide together, right?
Yes, you have.
Oh, difficult because Mario is my favorite video game since I was a child. I like beach. Maybe the parks.
I
Yeah.
like to take a class at the beach,
Um,
definitely.
okay. I
What do you
like
think?
the idea. Okay, I agree with you. Okay,
Let's go to
perfect.
the beach.
The
Using
beach.
bikini, maybe using. Okay, great, great
Great.
space for
Okay,
our teaching practice.
okay, let's go to the beach.
Okay.
So, with the beach, I would like you to think about a name for that beach. Imagine that this is our
The
classroom.
name for
How
this
would you like to name
classroom,
it?
Something related to paradise. No?
paradise, like
Paradise. Yeah.
the engaging paradise, maybe.
Okay, okay, great.
Engagement Paradise? Okay.
Yes.
Engagement Paradise of Major Leon Fernando.
Okay.
So, so Major Leon Fernando, you're going to choose one of these questions, right? And try at least to tell me one answer. Either how are you going to show respect towards each other and towards me during this master class? What things are you going to say to each other when you're feeling nervous? What are you going to do when you don't know when you don't do the classwork, or where maybe you don't understand an instruction, and or what do you do when a friend misbehaves? Just choose one and answer one.
Hmm, well, maybe two. What things are we going to say to each other when maybe someone is facing a difficult situation? Maybe the use of rude words, maybe in social network, yeah, in a social network, how to manage these kind of situations. Maybe we have to think about how to say in these situations. Yeah.
What about you, teacher Jonathan? Which question did you choose?
Well, I'm the teacher Fernando.
I'm sorry. Teacher Fernando, what about you? My God.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Paste the paper on
That's
the
my bad
screen.
habit. Sometimes I just cross names. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, I choose what are we going to do when a friend misbehaves.
Okay. What do you
Okay.
think you can do if Majorly starts misbehaving in this master class?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Well,
I can do something. No,
yeah, 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 you can.
no, no, no.
I choose this one because I think that in my group, students must propose what to do when they misbehave during the class, during the activity, maybe in a in a game. So I'm not going to tell him or tell her, "Hey, I must punish you because you misbehave." No, they must say, "I misbehave, so I know I must do this action."
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Well, this is a strategy that I like to use with my students. When I see that I have a very difficult group, maybe with difficult social interactions, that maybe that class management is not going to be that easy. So you need to get some class constitution in order to get your class organized, right? So instead of just giving you the presentation of the class and what you're going to do throughout the year, isn't it better if you negotiate the rules with them right from the start, not when the things start happening? Because you can go back and forth to those rules, to those negotiated agreements, and they will say, "Oh yeah, this is what we agreed, right?" So it's
Mm-hmm.
a sort of being aware of those values that we have inside of the classroom. So in flipped learning, when you move away from those traditional practices, right? When you're face to face with your students and maybe your class was sort of a more traditional one, this type of flipped learning pillar, the one of flexible environment, tells me that students need to always be on that interaction and that reflection. so that when they do that, they are going to help me to focus on more that part of the monitor and adjustment to the programs or to the lesson, to those parts of the class that really need some attention, some serious attention and observation. And of course, that is students are going to demonstrate their learning in many ways. So this is a very important aspect of flipped learning, that part of flexible environment. And this is the reason why we have been talking about how to forge that safe environment. Now, another type of activity that you can do if you don't have many maybe difficult or tough groups is this one is a star burst of I can and you can do it. So it's the same, is the responsibilities that you have. But in this one, you're going to get to know your students a little bit better. So you have these arrows. So you can see that there are some arrows going inwards and some going outwards. In the center, the student's name, right? And the rest of the instruction would be if the arrow is going towards outwards, is because it's something that that student can do. So in this part, you're not going to talk about the responsibilities only, but about the actual abilities that your students can do. And the language part is going to be, of course, that you're going to be able to teach I can, you can, I cannot do it, I am not able to do it, right? Depending on the vocabulary that you're managing with your students. And with the arrows that you have going inwards, that's going to be the teacher responsibilities. Like, what do you think the teacher can do for you? So that you can, when you start reading those diagrams, you will see that the teacher, that your students have certain expectations about you and about your class. Maybe there are going to be some of them being very descriptive up on their last experiences about the class, and maybe they're going to let you know that this is not one of their favorite classes. So you start doing that variability assessment inside of the classroom. Yeah, you will understand your classrooms better and you will get to know your students better. So, of course, you are again contributing to problem solving techniques, and you are going to use maybe simpler vocabulary skills, and you're going to start practicing the language right from the start. If you don't want to do this with each one of your students, you can do it as a whole if you don't have too much time. And of course, keep in mind that this should be a template visible throughout the year. Now I'm going to start with my second technique, and this one is to design learning experiences that last. And for this part, I'm going to ask the teachers that are there in the chat box to tell us how, now that you have that flexible environment, right? Maybe those steps towards your students enjoying more your class, like getting to know you better. Now let's think about the part of the lesson. How can you chunk those contents that you have throughout the unit, throughout the lesson, so that they can be edible to your students? How can you chunk them? How can you shorten those onto little pieces so that your students get them in a better way and are digested in a proper way by them? And for this part, I'm also going to call my two teachers, Fernando and Majorly.
Okay, you're here. Oh, Fernandez first on the screen.
All right.
So
Oh, my
Fernando, you
journey.
go first.
Well, something that I do during my classes is to shake things up. I tell to myself, hey, wait. Don't hurry up and let's wait. Let's uh, be sure what we are going to do. So it's like a checklist that this is the first that we are going to do. After that, we are going to continue with this. Later, we are going to work on this, and finally, we are going to join everything. And this is what we are going to present. So students are going to be sure. I'm going to be sure that the students are sure what they have to do. Later, I ask to different students, hey, you, Jonathan, what is the first thing that we have to do? Later, you, Marcela, what is what we have to do next? And Erika, what is the final goal? And they repeat it. If they don't know, someone is going to tell, hey, I know. So we refresh. what we are good to do. And during the activities, we gave them hooks, a hook. Every time I give hooks, and they know what to do.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. What about you, teacher Mayerly?
Okay, well, I like to say something about my school where I have been working during these last 11 years. Yeah. It's a bilingual education model. Yeah. And we decided to implement a lesson plan, not just, I'm going to talk not about the class itself, but also the lesson plan. Yes. How I chunk the content in this lesson plan. Yeah. At school, we plan using didactic units. Yes, these come from a Ganach methodology. Yeah, and it has some steps. Yeah, all the content and activities are scaffolded. Yeah, first, the students will know the objective of the lesson. Yeah, and we talk about this objective with them, with the students. Then we plan or we activate the students' previous knowledge through simple activities such as brainstorming, crosswords, simple questions. Yeah. Then I give the input, the new information, and some activities are created from for checking understanding at the end of this input. Then there is a practical part, yeah, modeling, of course, some activities. Then we include the generalization part where students apply this previous and new knowledge into the real context, their real context. And finally, a formative assessment part that includes all the process through rubrics, self-assessments, for instance. So we chunk the
Mm-hmm.
content in the lesson plan like these 5 or 6 steps, and
Mm-hmm.
at the end we include parents in this methodology with a rubric, yeah, how they participate in the students process, yeah. So maybe this pandemic situation helps us to involve more our parents in the learning
Mm-hmm.
process of our students.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is so right, and it is so important. Sometimes we feel that students may understand the amount of text or the amount of instructions, but that is so far from the truth. They have every time or every year they have less attention to what we are doing in the classroom, and we need to get them engaged somehow. So that is why I made some ideas for those teachers in the chat box, like making a mind map, right? Having reviews sessions before advancing. So before you move on, and if it has been a very a tough question for them, a tough session for them, or tough topic, you want to stop before advancing, right? So I'm going to ask Jonathan to join us, to the real Jonathan, not to Fernando, to
May-
join
I,
us.
I think that
Sorry,
Diana has a friend whose name is Jonathan Fernando. I'm
I have
sure.
two friends like that. Yeah,
Jonathan Fernando.
I have
Okay.
two friends named
It's
Jonathan.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Well,
So,
I'm super excited, super happy. I'm checking the chat. Here we have, for example, Olga Lucia Kitian, and she says, I chunk content by brainstorming ideas before going to the main task. And we have teacher Cecilia Suarez saying, hello, good afternoon. I am Cecilia from Aguadas, Sede Barranca Bermeja, Santander. We have a bunch of teachers, even from other countries. They are chatting. Here we have Marta Fernandez. I chunk content by using reflecting activities at the end of a class, like thinking routines. She speaks
mhm,
about how interesting those thinking routines are. And one more, the last person, Andrea, not from Medellin. Her last name is Medellin. And she says, I chunk content by brainstorming ideas before going to the main task. A lot of comments from our teachers, and we want to thank you very much for chatting, for exchanging ideas, for being so active here in the chat. And I want to remind you all here, we have, for example, there is one professor, one teacher asking about the link. Where is the link so I can register my attendance? Dear teacher, right here where it says British Council Colombia, bienvenidos y bienvenidas a nuestra 10th Masterclass. Para obtener el certificado de participación durante esta sesión, pueden acceder al enlace y ahí you guys are going to find the link so you can register. Diana, how are we doing so far?
I think we're doing great. I don't
What
know
about
about Fernando and Majerli. What about you, teachers?
Perfect.
How are you
Perfect.
doing? Good?
We're great.
Yes.
my
Okay.
last comment, I have to say this before you continue, but somebody from another country is saying hello to Majerli. I love you. You're my favorite sister. That's it. I don't want to say
Oh,
anything else.
very much.
Please, Diana, continue, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
So remember that at the beginning of this masterclass, I was telling you that we were going to take our students on a hike. We were going to hike with our students to the top of the mountain. But in order to do that, in order to get our students to high order thinking skills, we need to do certain steps. So if you remember, teachers, we were using Bloom's taxonomy or Marzano's taxonomy or any other type of taxonomy. But what you need to have clear here is that when you have a class activity, any type of class activity, you need to have certain steps, right? In order for me to get to the summit of the mountain, I cannot just go up and that's it. I need certain preparation, right? And how is that preparation done? So the first thing that I need to do is to tell my students where they're going, right? Then I need to start telling them if I am doing, I don't know, PBL or product, or if I allow them to choose their own topic, I need to ask them, why did you choose it? How are you going to do this, right? We start looking at some models and then we start to explore and analyze, and then they can take a decision, and then they can take a position, and then they can report, I don't know, the article, the book, the video, the research they made. But every process has steps. So this is the reason why I was telling you that it's very important to chunk into little pieces that plan of the class. Sometimes we think that we have this activity, that's it, but maybe students don't have it so clear. And I'm going to tell you later on why. So I have this mountain. Now, how is this translated onto a practice? I'm going to show you a very short example. But before we do that, I'm going to ask only for the teachers in the chat, and I'm going to ask John later on, until which part of this mountain have you climbed with your students? Until which part of this learning experience, right? When you want to take your students to the summit, until which part have you reached? Because you have had issues in the classroom. Maybe students didn't understand. Maybe you didn't have enough time. And why, okay? And you can answer with the hashtag, we have climbed until, and I'm going to be calling Jonathan later on so that we can talk about your answers. So what I want to do first is to show you an example of how I make the chunk by chunk, right? So this first exercise is based on the Way to Go book, and it's called Who Am I? So I'm going to be teaching two things. The first one, I'm going to be giving access to my students from different aspects. And the second one, I'm going to be teaching them certain language skills. Let's see if you can find out the patterns. So who am I? So first, I am going to give my students what? If you remember the mountain, our students need first the purpose of the task. I'm going to tell my students that this is going to be an introduction, right? And they're going to introduce themselves using a model. My recommendation is, if you can do it, I know that this is in the textbook, or maybe you found it somewhere else, but if you can do the example or the model yourself, your students are going to thank you. They're going to be very grateful because they have the model of their own teacher. So I have my word shopping. Let's go shopping. Let's go word shopping. Let's go vocabulary shopping. I love playing, reading, going to. I am concerned about the security in my neighborhood, or I am concerned about an exam that I have. So if you realize, the level of language is going to be a little bit higher this time, because we're working with adolescents. We want them to give us certain information, certain extra information, and what would they like to do about this situation that is a problem for them. So we're going to listen to the model first. I did it using Animaze, which is a program. Hello, I am Diana and I live in Bogota. Bogota is the capital of Colombia. I love reading, I love going out with my friends, and I love singing karaoke with them. I am very concerned about the pollution in Bogota. There are too many cars. I would love to see less cars and more bicycles. So when you're doing introduction with your students, they never know, or like if you're not as specific about the instruction, then they and start to ask you many questions about how do I say this in English? How do I say this in English? What type of vocabulary can I use this? But if you do this beforehand, if you give them the vocabulary first, you chunk the first part. You show them the model. If you can show them the model in different ways. I did it here with Animaze, but if you want to do it with an easier application, for example, I did it with Bucky. If you have used Bucky, this is a wonderful tool. You can either type the text or you can either just record yourself. If you don't like, if your students don't have access to these technological resources, remember that you can have access towards through WhatsApp, right? If you are in class, you can make a poster more visible for them, right? And then start rehearsing with them the pronunciation. And you can have more models. And those more models are going to be based in this case. Hello, this is I am Diana, and I live in Bogota. And you're going to have more models, for example, the book. The book is a wonderful tool. This activity was taken from Way to Go number 8. And if you take a look here, you have the text and you have in red, you see, you start seeing those word shopping back that we saw at the beginning, those words that we want them to use. Use the text of the book because your student will have at the end 3 or 4 models, different pronunciation, exposure to the language, and they're going to be grateful because they know now how to do it. And what I like about this material is that you have a realistic people from Colombia speaking, so they will feel more confident.
Tamana. My friends and I love living in the rainforest with all its plants and animals.
So you see, students will have access to different models, right? They already have access to the instruction, which is this one, and to the different models of the class. They know what is going to be the purpose of the class. Now I'm going to call teachers Fernando and Majerly to join me for a sec.
Okay.
Hello, hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, hi.
Well, I'm going to start with teacher Fernando. So
Oh,
Fernando, if you don't want to use maybe a Voki or a video, what else would you use for a class like this? Like to model to your students? So they
the thing,
don't have like the textbook, but they have
mhm.
something else.
Something that is a really good resource for me is WhatsApp.
WhatsApp.
Uh, Students record their voices. For instance, we are going to work on improving pronunciation, and they must record the voices. Uh, at the beginning, I have to say, "Can I play, it, please?" No, teacher, I'm ashamed. I don't want. Don't play it, please. If I play your audio, I'm going to give you extra points. Okay, teacher. And when one person say yes, all of them want to listen to all the audios, and we can correct pronunciation, correct fluency, and they're going to have a good experience. in this way. Something that I love also is using Kahoot, Kahoot for learning vocabulary or improving grammar, or quizzes that are planned for introduce gamification into the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Students love it. Students love, and they enjoy the class.
Mm-hmm.
It,
That's right.
they are useful experiences for last.
Also, sometimes I don't know if you have used running dictations.
Yeah. Running dictation, they are good. Or
So
for instance, when I have to teach in 11th grades, students don't like to make presentations. So I tell them, well, you don't like. So we're going to start using Novio. It's a platform, Novio, novio.com. They upload the slices and they make the presentation on the other side of the screen. So it's much better for them.
that's very interesting. And also, we need to keep in mind that there are maybe teachers or students or environments where
Yeah.
the technology has no easy access. So, for example, activities such as the running dictation, right?
Mhm.
The WhatsApp are great because somehow the students maybe that are not able to access through
Mhm.
internet, they have at least the data only for the WhatsApp and they are able to listen to you. And this is important because why is this giving them connection? Why is this giving them something that lasts? Because you took the time and you sent the audio. That for them is important, it's meaningful. So it's a way of connecting with them. Thank you,
Okay.
teacher. What about you, teacher Maderly?
Well, as you see on the screen, this is my
Yes.
avatar. Yes, I have used Voki since 2014, maybe. Maybe I knew this resource during my master's degree, and I have used this for introductions, for example. Yeah, students sometimes don't like to stay in front of the rest of the students, so they can type, as you said before, or they can record their voices, and then we present during the class. Yeah, we can share the link with others. Yeah, and you ask for something. Yes, it depends on the topic. In my case, I use this for introductions, and I model. Yes, I model the activity with my own avatar. Yeah, in Voki. It's a
I'm
good
going to
strategy
I'm
if
going
you
to play it
want
for a second so
Hi,
we can listen.
my name is Bailey Salazar. I am from Bogota, but my family is from Antioquia, a beautiful place. I like bowling,
That's awesome.
to. Okay. Well, it's longer. Eh?
Yeah, I know it's longer. But yeah, the idea of this whole process is that you're modeling to your students. So they don't have access only to the textbook because sometimes they get there and they get confused because there are more instructions there and they have your model already. So in order to continue with the next part and with the next technique, so remember we have been learning about two techniques. The first one is how do you forge a safe environment with your students, and for that one we had the class constitution or making a diagram that explores that discourse of identity that my student is having. And the second technique was to chunk the content by pieces so that the students understand where they're going and how they're doing. Now that we have seen the connection, now that we have seen the part of the explanation, let's go to how we can assist our students in class. And for this one, I'm going to invite all of the teachers at home and all of the teachers here, the two teachers that are here with me, Fernando and Majerli, to answer this for me. So let's suppose that most of your students understood the activity, the one that we just watched, the one of the introduction. Most of the students understood the activity, but there are some that are still lost. How can you offer or assist those students in that case? Because they don't know even how to start the introduction. They haven't even started the task. So how would you assist them?
Well, in many of the groups that I have, there are students who are good at English. So I can tell them you are the mentors of the class, so you are going to help me, or not help me, but help the classmates to explain what they have to do. Another activity is that I have planned in advance some memo cards, and I'm going to write on these cards down some ideas, some linking words, and the students who don't know how to start can use these short sentences to complete the ideas and use linking words to improve the writing level.
Awesome. So you have some sentence starters. So
Yep.
they say, okay, I have the first sentence, I can do the rest.
Yep.
That's great. What about you, teacher Majerli?
Well, in my case, in my school, we are using Google Classroom, for example, for extra materials. Yes, in advance, we can upload some of them before the class, according to the flipped classroom ideas that you mentioned before. Some of my colleagues and me use this strategy. Um, well, the idea is that they understand everything. Yeah. Another strategy could be models. Yeah, some models, not just one, because you maybe model the activity with only one thing, you have to maybe have more than one. The monitor is a good idea, yes, to repeat the objective of the class, the instructions that they have already understood. Yeah, so that's the idea, to that the students understand everything by repeating, by paraphrasing the instructions, and to be sure that they have understood.
That is a wonderful technique. But did you know, teachers, that there are like many types of help in a classroom, like depending on your student need? I don't know if you knew this before.
Which one? Sorry.
There are many types of offering help to students depending on the student need.
Okay,
So,
depending on their learning styles as well.
mhm.
Yeah.
So I'm
Okay.
going to call for this one before we move on. I'm going to call Jonathan to see how they're teaching, like what are the teachers saying in the chat box?
You don't imagine, Diana. You don't imagine. We have around 200 teachers texting, writing, exchanging ideas about different topics, about the techniques. This is amazing. So I'm going to give you some
Okay.
comments, Diana.
Okay.
Would you like me to read something about the first one? The one
Please,
that it
yes.
says, look, this one, it says, we have climbed until, remember that one?
Yes.
And I want to highlight something. I'm sorry, Diana, that I got back to this comment, but I there was a discussion, academic discussion, of course, Diana, teacher Fernando and teacher Majerli, here in this one, because we have some teachers saying, for example, we have climbed until the top when they are able to report and they reach the objectives of the task or
That's
the
amazing.
project. That was teacher Isabel Gutierrez. Erika Vargas says, we have climbed until the students explore and analyze. And then we start the discussion. There was a discussion here, teacher Diana, between Sulma Trejos, John Alexander Serna, Freddy, and there's one more teacher, yes, and teacher Alexander. They were giving us different platforms apart from Boki. I don't even know how to pronounce that one. I guess
That's
we will
awesome.
have, Diana, I guess you will have to go to the chat
I
and check
need to
one.
go to the chat box as soon as this transmission is
Yeah.
over,
Have you heard
definitely.
of this one? Pixton. I have never
Pixton,
heard of
yeah. The one
Pixton.
for comics.
No, yes, nice. Here,
Yeah.
teacher Karen is offering or is sharing with us Pixton. John Alexander Serna is discussing academic discussion again with Professor Arbey about the different ideas that they are proposing to use avatars in the class. Diana, this is just amazing. You have to check the chat. You have to
I
check the
will.
chat. Then I'm going to jump to the second one, Diana. I
This is
assist
when.
when, yes, I assist when I tell my dear students how to get there by giving more examples and by telling them instructions and reading the instructions with them, Olga Lucia Kitian. You don't imagine Olga Lucia. She has been on fire texting. Estela Fonseca, she says, I assist when I give examples of the activity, when I never tell them the answers, but I help them to get to the
Mhm.
answers. Look at this. It's just amazing. And when we have also some other teachers saying excellent ideas, they are very excited. Oh, 200 teachers listening to you, to Diana, to Fer, to Majerli saying hello. This is just amazing. And for all the teachers, remember that this master class is the strategy by the Ministry of Education, right? As part of the international cooperation agreement between the British Council and the Ministry of Education. Also, related to the inspiring teachers strategy, and we are trying to offer you, our dear teachers, techniques, strategies, master classes that will for sure enrich your classes. Diana, I'm sorry that I'm taking your time, but it's just that
No
I get
worries.
excited.
That was
I
very
get excited
interesting.
with this. Thank you, Diana.
Well, in order to continue, I'm going to tell you like the technique as such, right? When you start designing those learning experiences that last, you always need to keep in mind your car. And I'm going to say car because it's all about the clarity, the access, the rigor, and the relevance that the class has. So if a student didn't understand right from the start, is this is the student that gets distracted as I was talking before to Fernando, as Fernando was saying, gets distracted with a fly. This is the student that didn't get it right from the start. So he only needs clarity upon almost everything. So maybe this student um, is has a lot of skills but gets distracted. So you may want to give him, I don't know, the instruction. Then you have the access. Access are those students that for one or two reasons they have different skills and maybe they would opt or they would choose one of the two options that you're giving them to present the task. If this is a very big task, they can either write it or they can either speak it or they can either like talk to you about it. So if you I am going to go back for this one. In the task that I was presenting you before, teachers, you have two options like present the text or present it orally or present it in Pixton or present a comic. Like you give students choices. And that is something that matters here in regards to that part of the engagement, right? It's not only one way of learning. There are different ways of learning, different ways of accessing to that understanding or that to the higher order thinking skill. The rigor, maybe sometimes, and this happens to me as a teacher, in the rigor part, we say, okay, you're going to have 30 minutes to write this. But we don't realize that our students don't have maybe those skills that we require them to, and it's going to take them longer. So if the student feels that the task is longer, the attention time is going to be longer, right? He's going to be totally disconnected. So clarity, access, rigor, and then relevance. Your activities need to have some traction. If you don't have that meaningfulness, there is no traction there, right? So I'm going to ask you later on, what do you think is the car issue that you see the most inside of your classroom? So for this part of the activity, I'm going to ask Majerdi and Fernando to join again. And for this one, we're going to be standing up. Are you ready to run?
Ready?
Okay. Walk.
I'm going to give you, so you're in your house, I imagine, and I'm going to give you maybe 3 minutes for you to go on a scavenger hunt. You're going to think about those help resources in your classroom that can help children get to that understanding of instruction. Okay? And then you're going to show them on the camera and tell me what do you do with them. Okay? Are you
Okay.
teachers ready?
Yeah.
We're going to give, okay, not 3 minutes, but less than that. So go. Go and look for some resources of help. I'm going to look for mine as well. teacher John? Where's teacher Fernando?
I'm here. I won.
Majorly won. Majorly won.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I'm going to show you mine. For me, even though students have a dictionary, I always teach them how to use the real thing. So, dictionary, this, some flashcards that I use in my classroom, and the book that we're reading with them, because there are times that students don't bring the book. So here it is. What about you?
You won.
No, yeah.
Yes, you won.
Well, I have dictionary. Some dictionaries like this, yeah. And a marker. Well, this is permanent, but I imagine that is for an eraser board. Yes, okay.
Nice.
Okay, because my markers are in the school. Yeah, so imagine that is for an
Okay.
eraser board. Okay.
Okay, and I have these sticky papers. Students must have these sticky papers, and depending on the activity, we can choose, for instance, adjectives, adverbs, verbs, nouns, or we can use in running dictations, maybe. So these are really useful. Other thing that I use, pictures, students' pictures. They are
Yes.
great, and they
Yeah,
can think about their own environment. Okay, that's my family. On pictures, uh, authentic material, material that is in real English. I mean, from brochures, magazines from English-speaking countries, and but I won. I have four. Majority have two.
Well,
but teacher
three,
first.
but it's the
Teacher
same.
first.
It's the same category. Dictionary, dictionaries, two dictionaries,
And oh my gosh,
pen,
and
paper,
mobile phones.
The
Mm, and
of
phone,
the
course,
mobile phones,
a very
definitely.
important resource.
the
Uh,
computer.
oh my gosh, I have three mobile phones. So, some of the students use, as I say in advance, applications such as Duolingo, Memrise, uh, Be Challenge, Be the One Challenge, and Monthly. This application that you see here is Monthly, and
You have
it's
to
really
organize.
useful for students.
Okay. Well,
And the
thank you
winner
for
is.
joining me, this little scavenger hunt.
But I was foster.
Well, something that you must know about general help resources are those, this is the way in which we assist. So we assist in two ways: general help and specific help. In general help, we have the graphic organizers, the materials that you have in the class, the textbooks, the dictionaries, the ebooks, the e-sources, the Google Classroom if you have something in Google Classroom, the PDFs, the guidelines. Everything that I have on hand that I have planned for my class. That is a general help resource. So what do we say about scaffolding and general help resource? That at some point, your students, right, if they have scaffolds that I'm going to be explaining them later on, they need to disappear. Your student cannot be dependent all of the time of that help. If this student is in an exam, there should be a point where he or she is able to do the exam by herself or himself. So let's take a look. So general help resources is as if you were comparing yourself and going to a mountain, right? So you're going to go hiking and you need to get ready. That is the preparation process. So how do we say those general help resources? One of the ways, and I think that teacher Majorly mentioned this before, she has her vocabulary corner. I'm going to show you another way with a help desk. A help desk, if you're in your classroom, is your desk as a teacher, and you place on that desk everything that the students need. For example, if they have a quiz, maybe the key to the quiz so they can correct themselves and you can pay attention to things that are more immediate in the class. You can paste there the graphic organizers, you can have extra handouts. It's basically how you organize that classroom. If you are in your, well, I'm going to show you later on. If you are online, you can have a help desk online as well. So I'm going to ask teachers, my two guest teachers, and the teachers on the chat box, how is your help desk? Something very brief. And I'm going to call only one teacher this time. I'm going to call teacher Fernando.
Wake me up.
Hello. Teacher, if you have your help desk, right? How would you imagine would it be?
Oh,
Like, what things do you find in your help desk from the ones you just showed us before?
definitely, I love using a tablet. A
Tablets.
tablet in which students will send the audios, and we will develop a lot of activities, audios, videos, short videos, 10 seconds videos, 15 seconds videos, and it will be my help desk, a tablet.
Awesome. What about you, teacher Mayerly?
Well, working online, well, the Google Classroom is a good way to help our students. The email. What else? I design a virtual classroom. Yeah, virtual classroom with my Bitmoji and space. There are some links there with websites, audios, videos, etc., to help them about specific topics, or it depends on the topic or that they need. Yeah. Something about vocabulary during the class. For example, in the classroom, I use the vocabulary corner, as you mentioned, using the dictionaries. For example, they can build a dictionary on using
Mhm.
the markers, and they collaboratively construct or build a dictionary for the class. Yes, for the activity that they are doing. Yes, it's a way to help them. They do this. Yes, and it's very interesting. Okay.
Thank you so much. I'm going to call Jonathan so maybe he can read one or two comments from the chat box.
It's difficult to read only one or two because there are
Okay.
too many. We're speaking about. Listen to this one. Listen, it says, Flor Angela, my help desk has candies, and she says
Oh,
undoubtedly, there's no doubt I have candies on my. That's so good. That's so
that's
good.
awesome. I want her.
Yeah,
I want to be her
yeah.
student.
I would like to be her student. No, I would like to be. Yeah, I would like to be in her class as well. We have teacher Lina Rosa writing ideas. My desktop has here it says hashtag my help desk has of course a computer. It has a computer. And speaking about resources, let me tell you something, my dear teachers, and it is about eco teams, about eco kids, about all those resources that we have in our platform Colombia Aprende. So please go to the platform colombiaaprende.edu.co, I'm sorry, and you're going to find material, listening activities for our class for kids, listening activities for our classes with not only preschool but school and secondary. And remember that also you are going to find the Be the One challenge, the new version of our app, and you can download it from the different. If you have a Mac, that's not a problem. If you have Windows, that's not a problem. You can download that interesting app. Have you heard, Diana, of the Be
Yeah,
the One
I have.
challenge? I'm sure you have. Okay, Diana. So that's it. I'm going to continue here. I'm interacting with my teachers. And you can continue interacting with the teachers as well.
Awesome. So many ways to create a help desk. Teachers have sometimes bonus, like the teacher in the chat box, she has candies. You can have plush toys in case your students are feeling stressed. Maybe a spinner can help them regulate their emotions.
Hey, I'm sorry, Diana, I'm sorry.
Don't
But
worry, don't worry.
one teacher says, frunas, of course. Frunas. You know frunas? I love
Yes, I
frunas.
love
I
them as
love
well.
frunas. So my help desk has colors, papers, and frunas, of course. Freddy Garcia. Thank you very much, Freddy, for sharing these amazing ideas with us. I'm sorry, Diana, for interrupting.
Okay, no worries. It's always great to hear other teachers as well, because I'm
Yes,
not in the chat box, so you have access to it easier. So you can
yes,
create,
yes.
or if you have, you can also create something that is a when you usually call to Claro or one of these companies, they have a bot, a chat bot, right? You can have a chat bot in the classroom by doing paper balls. So your students stand up in a circle, they write down the questions that they have from the class, and they throw it to the center, and then they are going to, each one of them is going to pick up one question and read it out loud for the class. That is another way to have or to assist your students. Now that you have the general help, you are going to go to the specific help. And for the specific help, I'm going to be very brief on this one. You're going to have supports, scaffolds, and extensions. So when you have supports, it's for those students that need a concrete part of the process. Either they didn't understand the instructions, so they need clarity about the instruction. They need to check the example again. For supports, you usually use the help desk. That's what supports are for. You can have maybe general questions. You can start asking them what do they understand, rephrase or paraphrase, or you can only have the instruction where they can see it properly. Have the instructions, have the models pasted because you know your students. After you have the supports, let's go to the scaffolds. What are the scaffolds? In my case, Diana, this is Diana. I like to go hiking, but sometimes I am terrible when I have to descend from the mountain. So I need to use some sticks, mountain sticks. So I need a specific help in a specific part of the process. How can you see this? Um, Maybe at some point I won't use the sticks anymore because I have good balance. So this is the reason why I was telling you right from the start that those the extra supports that we have for students, they need to disappear at some point. How can they disappear? Let's take a look at this situation. If a student doesn't know how to read, how to write an article, he has the example, right? He has the instruction. This is a very problematic situation, but the student still doesn't understand how to write it down. You need to be very flexible. That's why it is flexible environment. So what do you do with those students that don't even know how to write? You can give them a scaffold. What is going to be the scaffold here? A sentence frame. So if you realize I already did like 60 or 70% of the task of my student, but then in the future, at some point, he or she will be able to stop with the scaffolds and do it on her own. But we need to have those extra resources or scaffolds in order to help those students that need help with a specific ability. You can also, and this is a second option, um, have the article, maybe one of the parts of the article be without it. In this case, they were asking the article to be without to be with a quote, with a famous quote. Maybe you can say your student, okay, the quote is not necessary. If the hook of the paragraph is not there, it shouldn't be an issue for me. But the basic should be there. So you are going to the rigor, to that part. If your student is perceiving that the task is too demanding, something is going on, and you need to be flexible in that instruction as well. If you want your students to make it relevant, maybe you can be more flexible upon the topics they want to write about, right? And this will help them in order to understand the relevance or the traction that they have. The more traction to the topic, the more interesting it's going to be for them. Was this time enough in my class? Do I need to extend the time? Think always about your students. Think always about, if you are going to finish something with them, finish with a high quality way. So give them more time. Use another class. Don't be afraid to do so. And the last one is the extension. right? In the extensions, there are students that finish very quickly, very easily, and maybe we realize that they didn't do the task in a correct way. So we want them to understand how to do that. Extension is not a giving extra work to a student. Extension is helping your student get into a higher understanding or higher order thinking skill. How do you do that? Give them a peer check. Give them a self-evaluation as the one I'm showing here. The evaluation checklist is going to be the extension part. Do you really think you have this? Then you need to go back to the support, or then you need to go back to the first part of the activity. Make a thinking routine. That is another way of extending your student understanding. Extension doesn't mean more work. So, what phrases can you use with your students? You can teach them phrases so that if you know the phrase, you know what to tackle. If you know that they don't understand what was the goal of the class, you know that is clarity. They need to understand or to have the whole instruction. If you know that is access, is because maybe writing is not their strength, maybe speaking is their strength. Can you help them? Can you help be more flexible? Maybe if it is rigor, is because the activity you designed, if most of the class is saying that this is too demanding, something is happening. Maybe the rigor was too much for them. It was too demanding. So you need to chunk it. You need to rephrase it. You need to redesign it. If it is relevance, maybe the topic was not interesting enough. What can you do about it? So I'm going to ask my teachers to come back in order to finish this last part. And think about what do you offer in your class, like from the scaffolds, the specific help, the general help, the extension. What do you think, which of those tools of help do you think you're offering in your class right now?
Well, I think that we have to be prepared for everything, yes? So I consider
Mhm.
A, B, and C. Yes, maybe you have to support students, you have to give them some strategies to scaffold during the activity. Maybe some students finished in 20 minutes, yeah? So you have to pay attention of this. But maybe not, maybe you don't need to prepare some extensions, yeah, but it depends on the learning styles as well, so you have to
Mhm.
consider uh, to hear their voices as well when you prepare an activity, what they want to do, a poster, yes, and a video, how they want to present the task, yeah, is important, so you have to be prepared for everything, yeah.
That is absolutely true. You need to, this is basically that saying that we have, you need to have the plan A, B, C, D, like all of the other scenarios just to be ready for that class.
Yes, and it depends as well on the dynamic of the school. Yes,
Mhm.
maybe there is a meeting right now, so you have to go. It depends on many
Mhm.
things. Okay.
What about you, teacher Fernando?
I
Your
agree.
mic.
No more Jonathan. I agree with my colleague. We must focus on A, B, Z because it depends on the activity or the skill we want to develop on students. I mean, different, for instance, if we want to improve speaking skill, so we can support students because speaking is a little difficult for some students. So we can give this idea later, this idea, or this option later, this option. If we want to improve writing skills, well, we can scaffold and in this way, students are going to get the idea or develop the skill. And if students is good at any skill, we can present some extensions, and they will improve a lot because they're interested in. So it depends, as my colleague said, uh, on the skills the students have, on what we want as a goal, and or what's cool plan.
Okay. So it is very important that you always know the action word for each one of those steps so that you are very clear upon the scaffold, the support, or the extension that your students might need. So I'm going to go with Jonathan. Are you there, my friend?
Yes, I am here, dear Diana, Fernando, and teacher. But let me tell you that my job is very difficult because I'm writing the strategies, the techniques that you're sharing, but I'm checking the chat and I'm doing a lot of things. We have all the things are on fire. They are texting. They are giving us answer. They said A, B, C, D. They say D. They say all of them. They are just on fire. And before we move on, dear Diana and dear teachers, I want to remind all our teachers right here, around 200 teachers watching our amazing masterclass, to take a look at the link to register. Remember to register your attendance, and to later on obtain the different materials from this masterclass. And also remember that if you have a question, something that you want to ask our professors, our teacher Diana, please go ahead and write it down in the chat. Thank you, Diana. We are about to
Thank
finish.
you. So
Almost
do you
there,
think
almost
we're
there.
ready for the recap and the last part
Yes,
of our masterclass?
we're ready. Teacher Fernando, are you ready?
I'm done.
And what about our teacher Majerly? Are you ready?
Yes, yes,
So
of
let's
course.
go to our
I'm
next.
ready.
Let's go to our next section.
Okay, so let's go to the part of taking action and then the recap. I just made a mistake there. So in taking action engagement edition, let's remember that we have 3 techniques and 3 steps. So the first technique was to forge a safe environment, to construct it with your students. And for that one, you needed to define teachers and students' roles. That is going to be your first action. You do. You have your job, I have my job. So you do it, I do it. And you can do it in many ways. You can do it with the class constitution, you can do it with the graphic organizer, you can do it with a very quick exercise. My job, your job, I do it, you do it. The second action step for design learning experiences that last is that you always need to make sure to chunk all of the instructions, the content, and keep in mind those action steps that you need to get in order to get to that summit of the mountain. So if you're writing a text, what do you need to do that? The kids need to identify, then they need to analyze, then they need to design, then they need to take a position, and finally they need to write something down. But there's always a step coming from the Bloom's taxonomy, coming from the Marzano's taxonomy. That are those 2 taxonomies are the ones that are the most used, but you always need to have those steps clear. And how do you do that? By always doing the clarity, access, rigors, and relevance check. Okay. And finally, we have the action step number 3. Now that you have built an environment of safety, of love, of compassion within your classroom, what do? You facilitate a class. You are the teacher of your class. You have great connection with your students. You model examples, but now your students need help. How do you do that? You need to design specific and general help resources for those students who will need you the most. Have your resources ready somewhere, but also build specific help resources like the supports, the scaffolds, and those extensions. And this is not only for students, but for you as well, because you are going to have less work, or your class is going to be less overwhelming, less questions, and more actions coming from your students. So how do you do that? You always need to check the engagement pulse of your students. How do you feel? Are you interested in this activity? Is this important for you? And how can you do this? These are some questions that Marzano and Pickering et al. Are going to help us, yes, in order to ask around our students while we are in a class. And those questions are going to help us understand, along with the car, in order to understand which part of the process my student needs help. Is in the whole task? Is in a part of a task? or he was just not paying attention and he only needs the instructions, so that is clarity. Or he was not for he or she, it's very difficult to make the task. They perceive it as something difficult. Maybe the rigor of the task was too high for them, so you need to adjust. This is all about adjustment. That is flexible environment, what is all about. Adjustment, being flexible, and keeping an open mind throughout the process. So now I'm going to call Jonathan. Hello, Jonathan.
Yeah, you can see my smiley face
Yeah.
because you were speaking about engagement, and we have teacher Maria Lizarazo she says, I don't want this class to finish. Okay, speaking about engagement. So before we go to our one of our last section, almost last one, that is recap, I want to invite again all our teachers to go to Colombia Aprende, to our platform, and find information related to Eco Kids, books, podcast, Eco Teams, Be the One Challenge. So, Diana, would you like me to invite you to check something related to Eco Kids, a very interesting video for our teachers, and then we jump to our next section. Let's recap.
Let's do it.
So let's do it.
ECO stands for English for Colombia, and it is an educational radio program designed to promote English language learning while exploring the cultural wealth of our country. It is designed for kids and presented by kids as well. Irene, Maxi, and Ramon are in charge. Throughout the program, they share their life stories, fun adventures, and interactions with other characters as they practice English. Remember to visit eco.colombiaaprende.edu.co to access other Eco Kids resources.
So let's go to the recap. Tools for that teaching toolbox. So first we have three strategies or techniques, and then we have some action steps. We need to forge a safe environment, and the only way of doing that is defining the teachers and the students' roles in the classroom through many connecting activities, such as the class constitution, such as the defined your diagram identity, right? Or I do it, you do it, my job, your job. You also have the second strategy, which is to design a meaningful and learning experiences that last. How do you do that? Chunk and scaffold. That's the only way. You need to chunk and scaffold the pieces of the information for students so it is digestible and eatable for them. And finally, you need to facilitate. You have given an explanation, you have given them examples, but you need to think about the how are they going to go there. What is the help that they're going to need? And for that, you need to design a specific and general help resources, scaffolds, supports, and extensions so that your students get to the top of the mountain. So, Jonathan, are you there?
I am always here, Diana, always here. And we're ready to jump to our last section. And before we go to our last section, that is called debate and discussion. So, dear teachers, right there, if you have a question for us, please go to the chat box. Make sure you ask the question to Diana. She's going to be willing to answer all the questions. And we're going to jump to our last section. Name? What's the name, Diana? Can you remember the name? Can you remind me the name?
Debate and discussion.
There you go. So let's go to our last section.
So for this last part, I made sort of a game for my teachers, and I'm going to ask Fernando and Majerly, who have been great guests today, to join me one last time. How are you feeling?
Happy to be here with Majerly and you, Diana. And happy because we are sharing some engaging activities. Because, well, you said at the beginning, we English teacher are great.
Yes, yes, I
Yeah,
feel
we're
very
very good.
comfortable here in this space, in this safe
Mhm.
environment. Well, learning something about your experience, Diana. And well, I try to cascade this information with my teachers, with my colleagues. So thanks for this invitation.
No, thanks to
Thanks.
you for accepting and being so participative and descriptive. You have been great.
Okay.
So, the last part is very simple. Do you know how a dice works, right?
Mhm.
This is going to be sort of a randomizer dice YouTube video I did with the questions, some of the questions that I would like to ask you. So, you're going to tell me when to stop the video and then you're going to get your question. Are you ready?
Ready?
Women first.
Ah,
Women first? Fine. Let's go with the women first then. Ready?
okay, ready.
You need to tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Majorly, name two challenges that student engagement leaves us today.
Well, one challenge could be to involve in our activities, to do more interesting for them our activities. For example, listen to their voices. Yes, that what they want to do today with this topic. Maybe before planning, we can we can design a survey. Yeah, before we plan or something like that. Maybe it's a good challenge to include them in our pedagogical practice.
Thank you. What about you, teacher Fernando?
Okay, let's start.
Very difficult question.
No, they're not tough. They're not tough. They're good. You're good. You're good. Okay.
Here. Oh my
Uh,
God. Here.
this one. Okay. What do you think about engagement before, and what do you think about engagement now?
Well, as English teacher or as a teacher, I think that mm I've been always interested in engagement. So what we have seen here today is like an update, and we must continue being updated about engagement because before, as Mayerly said, when she studied, it was very different. Maybe in 5 years, because time flies. In 5 years, education must be different, so we must be updating. I've learned about we have seen here in this session, and it's an opportunity to continue improving our practices. And it's thanks to the Minister of Education, and I think that everything go on, and respecting to engaging students, we have to continue going on.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Jonathan, I'm going to invite you to join us. I don't know if there
I'm
are any
always
questions going on in the chat. Maybe we can take one.
only one. We're going to take one, and that is
Okay.
by teacher Andres Mauricio Martinez Gomez. And he says, how can I apply this technique, one of the techniques that you were describing at the beginning? If, for example, in my case, I am working through WhatsApp, through chat.
Mm-hmm.
That is
So
the question. That,
the best way of connecting, for example, in regards to the instructions, students are very visual. So you may want to do maybe a slide in Google Slides or in PowerPoint, or if you're in a rush, just write it down with handwriting your students can understand, and upload it to WhatsApp. Students are very visual. They won't have such a long text in WhatsApp, but the image, right?
okay, that's a
If
good
you're
one.
an artist teacher, you can do your instructions graphically, so that your students, you don't have the back and forth of the long chatting, but you have the images. Like you have the same, like you translate the resources that you prepare onto the chat and you take the pictures. That's one way of connecting. And of course, sending the examples and the models as well.
I
Nice,
like
beautiful.
something to add
Okay.
something. Yeah. Well, I like to say that I'm the bilingual leader in my school, and I'm working with teachers most of the time with teachers. So that's my job to engage teachers, including English in other subjects. Yeah, through many strategies. Yeah. So in this case, the teacher asks about how to do to implement this strategy. So this is my job now in this position as a bilingual leader in the school. Yeah. So
Thank you.
that's the
Thank you
idea
very much.
to cascade all of this to improve my continuing professional development. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well,
Thanks to
this
you.
is the end. Diana, it was a pleasure. Professor Fernando, Professor Majerli, it was a pleasure. And before we go, we want to invite all of our teachers right there listening to us in this amazing masterclass. And by the way, teachers, please go to the chat and find and read all the beautiful and amazing comments that we have. And remember to stay with us next Thursday, September. No, that's Wednesday. I'm not sure. Wednesday or Thursday, September 22. September the 22, 4 o'clock, we're going to have another masterclass. Cómo fomentar una cultura de mejoramiento en el aprendizaje del inglés a través de la gamificación y la aplicación Be the One Challenge. It's going to be very
Can I
interesting, amazing. And yes, please, Diana, go ahead.
I just would like to express my huge thank you to the ministry and to the British Council for opening these spaces. I think that sometimes we are so full of work as teachers that we cannot find the space of updating our practices. And these videos, these master classes are a wonderful, very concrete way of doing so. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Teacher Fernando and Majerli. Thank you,
Thank you
Diana,
so
for
much,
joining us.
Jonathan.
For this invitation.
Jonathan
Goodbye,
Fernandez.
audience.
Our
Jonathan Fernando.
Thank you.
Don't forget to
Goodbye,
connect
everybody.
to our next masterclass, cómo fomentar una cultura de mejoramiento en el aprendizaje del inglés a través de la gamificación y Be the One Challenge. So I cannot wait for that one. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for joining, and
Yeah.
I'll see you when
And
I
to
see
all
you.
of the people, to all the audience and
With the
teachers, thank you very
audience,
much for
yes.
joining, and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.